Hey guys, it's Hassan here. I'm back with another brand new video. It's been several months since I last posted, and I've learned a lot of new stuff in that time that I plan to share with you in my upcoming videos. So look forward to that. Today we're going to be building a mini project that's going to utilize an API to get some data, and we're going to represent this data on a Google chart or Google map. And we're going to use the coronavirus COVID-19 API to do this. And we're also going to use a we're going to get a response from a webhook, and so that the data will be updated on a daily basis. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to be using Ruby on Rails to make this application, so feel free to follow along. Okay, let me disable the camera. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go to the terminal and then create your directory. You can do that in Rails by doing Rails new name of your project. Let's say it's coronavirus map. Then you should enter a database that's not SQL, because we're going to be deploying this to Heroku. So you can do what I did and use PostgreSQL. This. Once you click this will create the new directory that you need to build your application. So once you create the directory, just open it. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the route for the home page. So here we can do route home controller and the index method in the home controller. And then we're going to generate a controller, Rails generate controller home. Now we have a controller. And here we're going to define an index method. Controller is just a way to receive a request and then retrieve some data from a database, and then manipulate that data in some way and then return it to the view or return it somewhere. So you can think of it like a waiter going between the customer and the chef, where the customer is the front end and the chef is the database. Anyway, now we need to create the corresponding view for the index method. So it'll be in the home folder, so index.html.erb, create a title, let's call it Corona Total Confirmed Cases and updated daily. So let's run the server. Let's go to localhost. There we have the title. Let's quickly center it. Otherwise my OCD will go a bit crazy. Oops. Okay, so now we have the title. Now we're gonna use a library to create the map. We're gonna use this map in particular, the Geo Google Charts map. So first we have to install the appropriate gem. A gem is like it's like a library. So let's go to the gem file, install this gem. Then undo install to install, oops. So now we install this library. Now we have to add this to application.js. JavaScript file is included. Okay, and then we need to add our JavaScript file for Google Charts, which we can add here. Add this in the layouts, application.html, add this here. And then you can also add the API key, which you get from Google. I'll put a link in the description for the URL you get your API key from. Add it here. Ideally add it as an environment variable because you don't want to display this to the user because it's quite private. Because if someone gets hold of your API key, they can use it to make requests and you can end up being charged money for it. So it's important that you hide your API key. Okay, and then we need to add the method in our view to display the map. So it's geochart. Go to our index page. And this method accepts an array of arrays or an array of objects, but we can do just an array of arrays. And we can do, let's say, France, the first value could be the country. And the second value is the total number of cases. So let's say 10. We restart the server. Page. We have our map with the number of cases in France, which of course is incorrect. It's much more than that. But now we're going to move on to the more difficult part and the most important part, which is getting the data from the API and providing it to this geochart method. So we can use this URL, make a GET request to this URL in Postman. Go to install Postman and then make sure you're making a GET request and then add the URL here. And you'll get a response, which is all the data from the API. And this data is updated on a daily basis. So now we're not going to be receiving the data by making an API request. We're going to receive it by receiving the payload from a webhook. But we can just mock the data for now. We can pretend like we received this from the webhook so we can build the rest of our app. So we don't have to wait for the webhook response. Okay, so let's go to our directory and let's create a new file. This is just mock data. Let's call it corona data.json. Let's add this data here. So now we want to get this data and we want to save it to our database, a table in our database. So the first thing we have to do is create this table. So let's create a new table. Rails generate model and the name of the model. Let's call it Corona data. And then there'll be a few different columns in this table. The first one will be the country. And the second one will be the confirmed cases. Okay. So now we have this model. So let's run rake db migrate so that this table is made. Migrations are like records of the tables or the updates that you made to your database. So I haven't made my database yet, so let's create it quickly. Rake db create. I've got bundle. Now we have our table. So let's check in schema. Here we have our Corona data table. Now we can get the data and then save it to our table. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna read this file. This file is called Corona data.json. Then we're gonna, because we want this in JSON format, so we can do JSON.parse file. So let's see what this looks like. So here we have the data for the from the coronavirus API, and we have an array of hashes. We have hashes, and these include the country name as well as the total confirmed cases. That's perfect. That's exactly what we need. So let's loop through this data. Look through data and then create records for each one of these hashes in our table. So let's find the name of our model, Corona datum. I named my model incorrectly. Name of key is total confirmed. Okay. So if you run this in our console, we'll create a record. We'll create a record with the country and the confirmed cases for each hash. This will give us what you want. So let's try this now. You can see now we've created all these records in our table. So that's good. Okay. Now we've done that. Let's look at our. Let's remove this first. And let's paste this data inside our map. So you can create an instance variable here. So this variable is available in the index.html page. So we can call this data, and we're gonna Corona. Let's copy the name of the model, and we only want the data from 2 columns. We don't want the rest of the data in each row. So if you look right now, we have, if I select the first record, first, you can see that it has ID, it has country, it has confirmed case, created that, updated that. We don't want the rest of the stuff. We just want the country and the total confirmed cases. That's all we want. So we can use this method called .pluck. Country and confirmed cases. Now, if we add this method to our chart, it works. So now we have all the values in the map, all the values we need in the map. So you can see from the map that the USA has a lot of cases because it's quite dark red. And of course, you can customize the colors and you can change the value, how the value is formatted, and you can make all the customizations you like. Just check out the Google chart library. So now we have the data that we want. However, this data is not going to be updated. It's just this data is just going to stay the same, which isn't very useful, of course. So now we come to the very interesting part of today's video, which is we're gonna store a URL, store a webhook on the provider's server, and when the provider has some new data, it's going to send the data to the URL we provide, and we're going to receive the data and we're going to update all the rows in our table, and then the map is going to take this data and implement it here. The map method is going to take the data and implement it here. So let's try and do this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new route. So we can call this route, it's going to be a post request, and this route we can call receive data. And we can tell it where to go when the request is made to this route. Where shall it go? Let's make it go to home controller and go to the receive data method. Let's define this method in the home controller. Receive data. And we're going to read this. So request.body.read. And we're going to loop through the same as when we created it. We're going to loop through each record. Also pass it too. Loop through each record. And we want to find the corresponding country in our table, so we can find the corresponding row. So find the record by country. We find that record, we're going to update it with the total confirmed cases. This is correct. Okay. Okay, so let's test and see if this works. So we can test this by making a post request to our URL. However, right now we're on localhost, so we can't make a post request to localhost because it's not available on the web. So what we have to do, we have to deploy this application to Heroku. I wonder why it's taking so long. Okay, let me pause this. Hey, so I've deployed my app now. I've deployed it to this URL here. And I've deployed it to this URL. So now I'm gonna show you how I did that. Essentially, I made added a commit, so git add, and then git commit, there's a message, then I push to Heroku. Then once you push to Heroku, you need to run Heroku run break db migrate, and then you should try and push your local database to your Heroku database. Now this is a little bit tricky, so I wrote in a short article you can go to on how to do this. It's on my site. I try and add fun little tips and tools you can use. So this is how you push your local database to your PostgreSQL database in Heroku. So you run this command, your local DB, which you can find in your database.yml file here, and then your Heroku DB, which you can get by typing in this command here in your terminal. And then once you push your database, just you can view it live on your site here, on your deployed Heroku app. So now finally we get to the last step of the video, which is we have to add a webhook to the coronavirus COVID-19 API, so that when they have new data, they send us that webhook. They send us the response with all that data. So we can do that by just going to our documentation, clicking on webhook, and then take this command here, and we can paste this here, and then we change the data URL to our own URL. So in my case is this. And not forgetting the route I defined here to receive data to this method here. So when you go to this method, I'll collect the data here, I'll pass it, then I'll loop through it and update the records in my Corona datum table. There we go. Let's send this request, and it's success. So this URL is now on their server somewhere. Okay, so now I don't have to wait 24 hours or so before receiving the request. So we can practice making a post request to that specific URL by going to Postman and adding some data. We can of course change some data just so that we know that we actually managed to update it. So let's choose a popular country. Let's choose the United Kingdom, and let's make the total confirmed cases 0. And we're making a post request to this URL. We're making it to we're going to make a post request to this method in this controller, in the home controller, and the home controller is going to process this request. I added another little condition here. So if the data is present, sometimes APIs, they don't work for whatever reason. And if they return nil, then that will kind of break the application. So we want to add something which kind of checks to see if this exists or not, if the data exists or not. And then I added if everything works well, then I return a 200 message, which means success to their server. So I can also add one more thing I can do. If the data is not present, then I can send a 404 error. That lets their server know, okay, something went wrong. I couldn't find the data. Okay, so now, skip that. route again. Okay, so we'll make a post request now. Press send. And I should get a 200 message here, which means success. There you go. So that means that it worked, that the data was sent to my web application and it processed it and updated everything. So let's see if England is 0. So there you go, England is 0. So that worked correctly. So now every single day, these records will be updated according to the values that this API has. So that's all for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Please check out my YouTube channel and subscribe. I also have a Facebook group, which I'll leave in the description below. Please join. I'm really hoping to make a community of people who want to learn to code and improve their skills. And I think there's nothing more fun than coding with other people. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I hope everything goes well. Peace.